between 2 and 400 million on this.
And to everyone who hates when I win,
Disney's live-action Snow White remake, once heralded as a bold reimagining of a timeless classic, has spiraled into what industry insiders are calling a $120 million catastrophe. The film, meant to be a cornerstone of Disney's strategy to modernize its animated classics, has instead become a cautionary tale of mismanaged expectations, controversial casting, and a profound disconnect with audiences. At the heart of the storm is Rachel Zegler, the young star whose polarizing comments and social media presence have turned her from a promising talent into a lightning rod for criticism. The fallout has sparked heated debates about studio oversight, the risks of remaking beloved classics, and whether Zegler's career can recover from this unprecedented debacle. The project's failure is not just a box office disappointment, but a brand disaster that has left Disney scrambling. Reports suggest the studio is projecting losses between $2 million and $400 million, a staggering range that reflects the uncertainty surrounding the film's final financial toll. With a budget estimated between $170 million and $270 million, inflated by delays, reshoots, and production setbacks, the film's global opening weekend haul of just $87 million, $43 million domestically, was a gut punch. For a studio accustomed to dominating box offices, this was a historic misfire. Streaming rights, merchandise, and international rollouts are unlikely to close the gap, leaving Disney facing a financial and reputational crisis. The trouble began long before the film hit theaters. From the moment Rachel Zegler was cast as Snow White, Disney's first-ever princess, she faced immense pressure. As a relative newcomer, known for her role in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, Zegler was expected to carry the weight of a cultural icon. Initially, she expressed excitement, describing the role as a dream come true. But her public comments soon took a different tone. In interviews, she called the 1937 original creepy, mocked its love story, and labeled the prince a stalker. She emphasized that the remake would focus on an independent Snow White, dismissing the romantic elements of the classic as outdated. To many fans, her remarks felt dismissive, even hostile toward a story that holds a sacred place in Disney's legacy. Zegler's comments didn't just alienate fans, they ignited a firestorm. Social media erupted with hashtags like #NotMissSnowWhite and #BoycottSnowWhite, as audiences felt she was mocking not just the film, but their childhood memories. The 1937 Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs isn't just a movie, it's a cultural touchstone, Walt Disney's first animated feature, and a symbol of the studio's storytelling heritage. Zegler's sarcastic delivery and blunt critiques, like saying the prince's scenes could get cut, who knows, rubbed loyalists the wrong way. What might have been a nuanced discussion about modernizing a fairy tale became a battleground, with Zegler's words perceived as a direct insult to generations of fans. The controversy didn't stop there. Zegler's past social media posts resurfaced, including tweets about Donald Trump and his supporters, stating they would never know peace. For a brand like Disney, which thrives on universal appeal, this was a PR nightmare. The film became entangled in broader cultural debates, transforming a fairy tale into a lightning rod for ideological divides. Fans who might have overlooked creative liberties with the story felt personally attacked by Zegler's political outspokenness. Her co-star Gal Gadot, who is Jewish, reportedly faced tension due to Zegler's posts, including one that paired a promotional tweet about Snow White with a Free Palestine message. Insiders say Disney dispatched a producer to plead with Zegler to remove the post, warning that it could alienate audiences. She refused, doubling down on her stance. Disney's response was swift but chaotic. Behind closed doors, executives held crisis meetings to assess the damage. According to sources, the mood was one of fury, not just disappointment. One executive reportedly shouted, "She torched a billion-dollar brand in under a year, and we paid her to do it." The studio hired a special media consultant to shadow Zegler, ensuring she didn't make further missteps. Her apologies, posted on social media, were meant to quell the backlash but felt orchestrated. Insiders claimed Disney's PR team ghostwrote portions of her statements, pushing her to show remorse to appease fans. The apologies backfired, with critics calling them insincere and fans dissecting every word for signs of corporate spin. Instead of diffusing the situation, the statements deepened the divide. The film itself didn't help. Production was plagued by setbacks, Hollywood strikes, a COVID outbreak on set, and even a literal fire slowed progress. The budget ballooned as reshoots piled up, and creative decisions, like replacing the seven dwarfs with CGI characters, drew further ire. Actor Peter Dinklage, who had criticized the use of dwarf actors in such roles, was blamed by some for influencing the decision, with critics arguing it robbed little people of work. The choice to sideline the dwarfs, a beloved element of the original, felt like another betrayal of the story's legacy. The film's modernized tone, prioritizing empowerment over nostalgia, alienated both older fans and newer audiences who expected a faithful adaptation. When Snow White finally premiered, it was less a celebration than a quiet surrender. Red carpet events were scaled back, press appearances tightly controlled, and the studio braced for impact. The opening weekend confirmed their worst fears. With a domestic take of just $43 million, the film fell far short of expectations for a Disney blockbuster. For context, even underperforming remakes like Dumbo had stronger debuts. There was no viral buzz, no standout moments to salvage the film's reputation. Critics panned it, with Rotten Tomatoes scores plummeting, and audiences echoed the sentiment, calling the film a betrayal of the original's charm. The fallout has been brutal for Zegler. Insiders say she's devastated, having believed the role would cement her as Disney's next big star. Instead, she's now seen as a liability. Rumors swirl that Disney is exploring legal options to recoup losses, potentially invoking morality clauses or PR performance triggers in her contract. Some claim the studio is demanding financial restitution, a move that could set a precedent in Hollywood. Whether this means clawing back bonuses or canceling back-end deals remains unclear, but the message is unmistakable. Zegler is being held accountable for the film's failure. Sources say she's been in tears, blindsided by the corporate firestorm and the realization that her Disney fairy tale has crumbled. The broader implications are staggering. Disney's live-action remake strategy, once a reliable cash cow, is now under scrutiny. Snow White was meant to prove the studio could modernize its classics while retaining their magic, but it's become a textbook example of what happens when a film loses touch with its audience. The disconnect wasn't accidental, it was baked into the project's DNA, from Zegler's casting to the film's heavy-handed messaging. Fans felt the remake prioritized ideology over storytelling, sacrificing nostalgia for a tone that felt condescending. The backlash has forced Disney to rethink not just this film, but its entire approach to remakes. For Zegler, the road ahead is uncertain. Her reputation has taken a hit, with some producers reportedly viewing her as radioactive. Casting her in future projects could invite backlash before filming even begins. Her co-stars, like Martin Kleba, who played Grumpy, have distanced themselves, with Kleba hinting that the controversy overshadowed what should have been a celebratory moment. Hollywood is unforgiving when a star becomes synonymous with failure, and Zegler's name is now tied to one of the biggest flops in recent memory. Yet there's a generational angle to consider. Zegler, a product of a culture that encourages sharing every opinion online, was raised in an era where personal authenticity is often prized over diplomacy. Her bluntness, while divisive, reflects a broader trend among young stars who feel empowered to speak their truth, even at the cost of alienating audiences. Disney, however, underestimated the risks of casting a vocal, unfiltered Zoomer in a role tied to such a cherished legacy. The studio's failure to conduct thorough opposition research or vulnerability studies before signing Zegler is now a point of contention. Insiders wonder why Disney didn't anticipate the potential for backlash, given her outspoken social media history. Can Zegler recover? It's possible, but it won't be easy. She could take time away, rebrand, and rebuild her image, focusing on roles that align with her strengths without the weight of a cultural juggernaut like Disney. Alternatively, she could double down, leaning into her activist persona, but this risks further alienating mainstream audiences. Her talent is undeniable. Her performance in West Side Story earned critical acclaim, but talent alone may not be enough to overcome the perception of brand damage. Disney, too, faces tough questions. The Snow White debacle has exposed cracks in the studio's remake machine, raising doubts about whether it can continue to bank on nostalgia while pushing modern agendas. The failure isn't just financial. It's a warning that audiences won't blindly embrace change, especially when it feels like a lecture. As the studio licks its wounds, it's clear that Snow White's legacy, like the winged victory statue Zegler referenced, may endure despite its cracks. But for now, it's a fractured fairy tale, and Rachel Zegler is its most visible casualty. Whether she can rise from the ashes or remain a cautionary tale is a story still unfolding.